Hi and welcome to Play Hooky with me. My name is Roz, and in today's video I'm going to be showing how to make this super fast and super squishy chunky blanket. This is a simple one row repeat using half double crochets and is ideal for beginners or if you're looking for a project that will work up quickly. The blanket that you see here is approximately 4 by 5 feet, so an oversized lap blanket, and depending on your speed should take you about 6 to 8 hours to complete. The beauty of this stitch is that once you get that first row completed, you won't even have to count your stitches to stay on track. So you can relax to a good show and practically go on to autopilot with this one. So first we'll dive right into the stitch tutorial, and then you'll find some extra tips featured at the end of the video. For this project, I'm using the Bernat Blanket Big in the color Misty Green. One of the things I really like about this particular brand is that although it's considered a chenille yarn, it doesn't shed as much as the others and is washer and dryer safe. This is a number 6 yarn requiring a 10mm hook, but for this project, I did go up to a 12mm because it gave the blanket a little bit more drape. Now, if you decide to go with a different brand, be sure to check out the weight of the skein and how much yardage there is to compare sizing. To begin, create a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your fingers, go through the center of the loop, pull your yarn through, and tighten. To create your foundation chain, you want to use a multiple of 2 or an even number. For the blanket that you see in the video, I started with a chain of 66. The stitch that we're going to be using is a variation of a classic V-stitch, but we're going to be doing it with half double crochets. So to begin, create a half double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, going into the chain, yarn over, pull through. You should see 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. This here on the side is going to count as your half double crochet on the side, and now we're beginning our first mini V stitch. So we've just done a half double crochet, chain 1, and in the same space or same chain, create another half double crochet. That was a yarn over, going into the stitch, pull the yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And we're just going to continue this all the way across, skip 1 chain, and into the next chain, add a mini V stitch. So half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, all in the same chain. And this is going to take the longest of the entire blanket just because you want to make sure to skip those chains. Continue all the way across. When you reach the end and you see 2 chains remaining, you want to do 1 half double crochet into the very last chain. This is going to be the side of your blanket. And you should have something that looks like this. You have a half double crochet on the sides, and then you have your V stitches in the middle. For row 2, chain 2 and turn. That's going to serve as your first half double crochet for the side. And now we're just going to continue creating mini V stitches all the way across into the previous V stitches that we made in row 1. Super, super easy. So in the previous V stitch, create another V stitch. Half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet into the same stitch. Moving over, find your next V stitch, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull through all 3 stitches, chain, and then another half double crochet into the same space. If you're having a hard time finding where those V stitches are, if you're finding it hard with the chenille yarn, just look for the 2 stitches that are very close together and then work into the center of it. It'll just take a couple of rows and then it'll be a piece of cake. You'll be able to recognize it very quickly. And then once you reach the end, you do have a little bar like here. This is your first half double crochet or chain 2. Just create a half double crochet into that space. You can work into the chain if you like, but I found that it stays nice and straight just wrapping it around. Chain 2, turn, and then just continue creating your V-stitches into the previous V-stitch until you reach the height of the blanket that you want to make. Once you come to the end of your blanket, it's time to fasten off and weave in your ends. I like to take the tail and push it through the center of that last chain and then snug it tight. You can either weave in the tail with your crochet hook or you can do it with a tapestry needle if you have one that's big enough. I like to use these Susan Bates finishing needles to weave in the ends. But like I said, if you don't have one, you can just take the tail and weave it with your crochet hook. Really? Always trying to steal the show. It's a lot faster and easier to do with the finishing needle, but I just wanted to show you that you can do it with a crochet hook if you don't have something that will work. And then if you're concerned about the fraying, you can always get a little bit of fray check to just dab the ends and you'll be good to go. As you're making your chain, work a little bit more loosely. You don't want to make your chains too tight. Even using a bigger hook size would be perfect for this because it's really going to help keep your blanket nice and straight. When you've completed your first row, pay attention to see how much this is bending on you. If you're finding it's really extreme, then you do want to go back and redo that starting chain and make it a little bit looser. Otherwise, you're going to have a blanket that expands on you. If it's just slightly bending like you see here, don't worry about it. When you get to about the 4th row, you'll start seeing that it straightens out. To keep your blanket straight and prevent it from expanding on you, the chain is really important like I just mentioned, but it's also important when you're working on your stitches that you keep an eye on the little piece of yarn as you're working. As you're moving from stitch to stitch, you don't want there to be a lot of slack with this. You really want to focus on your tension. Otherwise, you're going to find the space between your stitches is going to get wider and wider. So as I'm making my half double crochets, before I do my yarn over, I just kind of tension and then I yarn over and pull through the stitches. There's my chain 1. And then again, the same thing when I do my half again. I make my half double, but then I just kind of tension and tighten before I complete it. And the same goes for between those stitches. I don't want there to be a lot of slack here as I'm moving to the next stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and then go into the stitch and pull through, making sure everything's nice and snug before I complete that stitch. So that really is the secret to keeping your sides straight. You don't want this to get too loose. Now don't go crazy to where you're just pulling on it to death and it's just hurting as you're trying to go through these stitches. You don't have to be that extreme, but just keep an eye on it. My favorite way of joining skeins together or attaching a new ball of yarn is to use the magic knot. The proper name for this is the fisherman's knot. Taking the 2 ends, making sure that they're going in opposite directions. You're going to join this end of the yarn to this piece of yarn, and then this end to this yarn. So you have 2 ties. So beginning right here, I'm going to just tie it together, just a typical tie. And then repeat. Just taking that end and tying it to the one above. You'll have something that looks like this, and then just pull them together. And you can pull as tightly as you like, that is not coming out. The other beauty to this is that you can snip very closely and it's not going to affect the knot. One thing that I found made me faster as I was working with this is that I did not need to thread the yarn through my fingers to tension the yarn. Usually I work with something that looks a little bit like this, but with this yarn, it has quite a lot of tooth, meaning it's quite dry as you're working with it, and it's thick. So I found with this, I just needed to pinch it with a couple of fingers as I was working, just for a little bit of tension and control. So I found that it was much easier to work with this way, and my speed went up dramatically. One thing that really helped me with my speed and efficiency with the blanket was to have control over the skein of yarn that I was using. The very first ball that I had, I got a big tangle towards the end of it and it really slowed me down. So I would recommend if you have anything that can stabilize that skein for you, it really does help. I had to get creative here. I didn't have anything made for this, but I did find that my paper towel holder worked really well. I was able to plop the yarn right on top of it, and then I was able to unwind the yarn as I was working, and I didn't have any more issues with the yarn tangling. And then my final tip for speed and efficiency is to make sure that you work while your cats are sleeping. Otherwise, you're going to be very distracted and they're going to be very interested, and it is going to slow you way, way down. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this style of blanket, please let me know in the comments. I had so much fun making this, so I'd love to find some more simple stitches and make some more with you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.